Jungkook and Taehyung were seen buying tickets at an airport in Japan to return to Korea, and a simple moment immediately turned into a heated discussion among fans. Not because their departure has already happened, but precisely because the not yet departed situation is what gives rise to a lot of emotion, speculation, and emotion. In the midst of a busy airport filled with the sound of flight announcements and the footsteps of passengers, the two figures so well known to the world seem to be undergoing a very human process, determining the schedule, waiting for confirmation, and preparing to return home. The atmosphere of the Japanese airport that morning felt different to the fans who happened to be on site. Jungkook and Taehyung don't show up. Their clothes are simple, facial expressions are calm, but it is obvious that both of them are in focus. They stood side by side in the ticket buying area, occasionally talking softly to each other, as if to make sure the details of their trip really matched. No excessive gestures, no haste. It is precisely that tranquility that makes many people feel this moment so intimate that of particular interest is not only the fact that they will return home to Korea, but how the process takes place. Jungkook looks at the information screen carefully, while Taehyung occasionally turns his head, speaks briefly, then nods slowly. Many fans interpreted this small interaction as a picture of their maturity. After years of living with hectic schedules and frequent decisions taken by the team, the moment of buying a ticket on its own feels like a small, meaningful symbol of freedom. News of those still at the airport, yet to depart, quickly spread on social media. Armies in different countries began to talk about small details. Uncertain flight hours, possible routes chosen, and the reasons why they seem to be in no hurry. But behind the speculation, there is one common feeling: longing. Longing for BTS's moment of togetherness in Korea. Longing for the atmosphere of going home, which always carries emotional meaning for Jungkook and Taehyung. Japan is no stranger to either. Many memories, schedules, and long journeys they have traveled in this country. So, the decision to return to Korea feels like a temporary closure of a phase. Not leaving yet means that there is still a pause. There is still time to breathe, to reflect, and perhaps to enjoy the last seconds before returning to a denser routine. Some witnesses said that Jungkook had a small smile when talking to Taehyung, as if there was a light joke between them. Taehyung looked relaxed, but his eyes showed deep focus. Their interaction was not crowded, not full of laughter, but warm. Like two friends who already understand each other very well without the need for many words. This moment also gave rise to mixed feelings among fans. There is a sense of relief because they will return to Korea, but there is also a sense of emotion because this trip feels so personal. Jungkook and Taehyung are not just idols who switch countries for work schedules, but two individuals who are setting the next step in their lives. The fact that they haven't departed yet makes fans feel as if they're on the verge of an important transition. Many highlighted Jungkook's expression that looked calmer than before. There are no signs of excessive fatigue, no depressed face. Taehyung also looks comfortable, occasionally correcting his position, then returning to a brief discussion. These little details are the subject of conversation because they show that they are in good shape, at least emotionally. Airports, as transitional spaces, have always had a symbolic meaning. It is not a home, nor is it a final destination. And it is in that space that Jungkook and Taehyung reside, between Japan and Korea, between the past and the next step. Not yet departed means that there is still room for unfinished feelings, for thoughts that are still spinning, and for hopes that have not yet been fully spoken. Fan media began to refer to this moment as the second before going home, a phase that was often more emotional than the departure itself, because it is at that moment that a person really realizes where he is going back. For Jungkook and Taehyung, Korea is not just a country of origin, but a place where many memories, stress, and love meet. What makes this news so exciting is not the certainty of the flight schedule, but the uncertainty itself. They're still at the airport, still picking, still waiting. And in that wait, the army was waiting. Waiting for the next news, waiting for the moment of return, waiting for the new story that would begin after they arrived in Korea. Until now, Jungkook and Taehyung have still not been seen entering the departure gate. They were still in the public area of the airport, resolving their affairs calmly. This moment, although short and simple, has become a reminder that behind global fame, there is a daily life that remains to be lived. Buying tickets, waiting for the schedule, and getting ready to go home. All of that is part of their journey, just like the songs and stages that the world has come to know. And perhaps it is precisely in this not yet departed moment that the public can see Jungkook and Taehyung in the most honest way. Not as an icon, not as a symbol, but as two human beings who are standing at the small crossroads of their lives, preparing to return home. The presence of Jungkook and Taehyung, who are still at the Japanese airport, have not yet entered the departure stage, only reinforces the impression that this moment is not just a travel routine. There's a pause that feels long, although in time it may only be a matter of minutes or hours. The pause was filled with feelings that are difficult to explain, between relief, longing, and readiness to return to a denser life in Korea. Many fans feel that this phase of waiting before leaving is the most honest moment, because it is there that a person is no longer busy with goals, but is dealing with his own thoughts. Jungkook seemed to check his phone several times, not with an anxious expression, but like someone making sure everything went according to plan. Taehyung stood beside her in a relaxed manner, occasionally looking around the crowded but orderly airport. The small interactions between them, the slow nods, the quick glances, and the brief conversations gave the impression that these travel decisions were being discussed together, rather than just a formality. It's little things like this that make fans feel close, as if witnessing a normally hidden slice of life. Not leaving yet also means not completely leaving Japan. The country holds many memories for Jungkook and Taehyung, both in the context of work and personal experiences. And so, this moment at the airport feels like a fine line between two worlds. On the one hand, there is an almost finished journey. On the other hand, there is a return waiting. In the midst of it, they stood quietly, as if enjoying that brief balance. On social media, the ARMY's reaction grew quickly. Not panic, nor excessive euphoria, but warm curiosity. Many wrote that seeing Jungkook and Taehyung take care of the tickets themselves felt very down to earth. After years of seeing them in tight schedules and organized systems, this moment feels like a reminder that they also live simple things like everyone else. Some fans even interpreted their calmness as a sign of emotional readiness. No excessively tired face, no rash gestures. As if returning to Korea was not something stressful, but rather a process that was calmly accepted. Taehyung is seen taking a few deep breaths, then smiling lightly, while Jungkook appears focused yet comfortable. These details may be small, but to fans, they all feel meaningful. The Japanese airport, known for its regularity, adds a quiet feel to the moment. The announcement sounds regular, the footsteps of passengers passing by. But in the middle of it all, Jungkook and Taehyung are in their own space. Not leaving yet means they still have time to adjust, time to make sure, and time to close a chapter of the journey without having to verbalize it. This situation also gave rise to a protective feeling from the ARMY. Many hope that their return will go smoothly, without excessive stress. Not a few write that they do not need to rush, because the most important thing is their condition. This reaction shows a change in the way fans see things, no longer just waiting for content or schedules, but genuinely caring about emotional well-being. The lack of certainty of the departure hour actually makes this story feel more alive. Those small uncertainties leave room for interpretation, but they also remind us that not everything has to be known in detail. Jungkook and Taehyung are still at the airport, still in progress, and that's enough to make a lot of people feel connected. When a person is not yet departed, he still has a choice, albeit a small one. And maybe that's what it feels like from this moment. A brief freedom before return to the routine. Jungkook and Taehyung don't seem burdened by the spotlight, nor do they try to avoid excessive.